Memphis, Tennessee, Graceland, August 16th, 3:15 p.m. Dr. George Nichopoulos races up the stairs to Elvis Presley's bedroom, his medical bag in one hand, his heart pounding with dread. The call from Vernon was panicked, almost incoherent. "Come quick, Doc. Something's wrong with Elvis. Real wrong." Dr. Nick finds Elvis collapsed on the bathroom floor, but he's not dead, not yet. His eyes are open, his breathing shallow, but steady. He's conscious, aware, and when he sees Dr. Nick, he grabs the doctor's wrist with surprising strength. "Doc," Elvis whispers, his voice barely audible. I need to tell you something, before it's too late." Dr. Nichopoulos immediately begins checking Elvis's vital signs, but Elvis won't let go of his wrist. "Elvis, let me help you. We need to get you to the hospital." In quote. "No," Elvis says with more force than seems possible. "Listen to me, please. I've been carrying this for 20 years, and I can't take it with me." This is creative storytelling, inspired by the documented final hours of Elvis Presley and the complex relationship he had with Dr. George Nichopoulos, who was present during Elvis's final moments. Dr. Nick has been Elvis's personal physician for 7 years. He's seen Elvis at his best and his worst, through triumph and addiction, through love and heartbreak. But he's never seen Elvis like this, desperate to communicate something that seems more important to him than his own survival. "What is it, Elvis? What do you need to tell me?" Elvis struggles to sit up slightly, his face pale but his eyes intense with purpose. "You know how everyone thinks I stole my sound from black musicians? That I appropriated their music and got rich while they stayed poor?" Dr. Nick nods, confused about why Elvis would bring this up now in what might be his final moments. "It's not true," Elvis continues, his voice getting stronger. "Not the way people think. Doc, I need you to know. I need someone to know the real story." Elvis takes a painful breath and continues. "In 1954, when I was recording at Sun Records, I met a kid named Marcus Johnson. He was a black musician, maybe 17 years old, with the most incredible voice I'd ever heard. Voice like an angel, guitar skills that made mine look like child's play." Dr. Nick listens intently, applying pressure to Elvis's wrist to monitor his pulse while Elvis talks. Marcus had written this song, called it "That's All Right." It was beautiful, Doc, pure and honest and real. But Sam Phillips wouldn't record him because he was black, and the radio stations wouldn't play him. This was 1954, remember. The world wasn't ready for a black rock and roll star. Elvis pauses, gathering strength. Marcus was going to give up music. Said he'd go work in the cotton fields like his daddy because there was no future for someone like him in the music business. That's when I made him a deal. "What kind of deal?" Dr. Nick asks, though part of him knows he shouldn't encourage Elvis to keep talking when he needs medical attention. "I told him I'd record his song. I'd sing it exactly the way he wrote it, with his arrangements, his style, and I'd split everything with him, 50-50. The money, the royalties, everything. We'd be partners, even if the world could only see one of us." Dr. Nick is stunned. "Elvis, that's incredible. But why didn't anyone know about this?" Elvis's face contorts with pain, both physical and emotional. "Because Marcus died, Doc. 3 weeks after I recorded That's All Right. Car accident on Highway 61, coming back from a gig in Clarksdale. Some drunk white kids ran him off the road because they didn't like seeing a black kid driving a nice car." Tears begin streaming down Elvis's face. "I was going to tell everyone about our partnership after the song came out. I was going to make sure Marcus got credit, got recognition. But then he was gone, and I was left with this huge hit that everyone thought I wrote." "What did you do?" Dr. Nick asks quietly. "I tried to find his family, to give them Marcus's share of the money, but they'd moved away after he died, and nobody knew where they went. I've been looking for them ever since, Doc. 23 years I've been searching for Marcus Johnson's family, trying to make this right. Elvis struggles to reach into his robe pocket and pulls out a worn piece of paper. This is the original song sheet in Marcus's handwriting. And this. He pulls out a small notebook. This is a record of every penny I've made from That's All Right and all the songs that came after it. Half of everything set aside for Marcus's family. Dr. Nick looks at the notebook, page after page of meticulous financial records showing millions of dollars set aside in a separate account. Elvis, this is extraordinary. You've been carrying this guilt for over 20 years? Not guilt, Doc. Responsibility. Marcus trusted me with his music, with his dreams. When he died, I became the keeper of those dreams. Every time someone said, I stole from black musicians, I wanted to scream the truth. But I couldn't prove Marcus existed without exposing his family to attention they might not want. Elvis takes another labored breath. But there's more, Doc. Marcus wasn't just a musician. He was my friend. More than that, he was like a brother to me. We spent hours talking about music, about life, about what we wanted to achieve. He taught me things about singing, about feeling the music, instead of just performing it. He sounds like an amazing person. He was, and he was also. Elvis hesitates, then continues with determination. He was also gay, Doc. In 1954 Mississippi, you can imagine how dangerous that was for him. Dr. Nick's eyes widen. This adds another layer of complexity to an already incredible story. Marcus trusted me with that secret too, said I was the only white person who'd ever treated him like a human being, let alone a friend. He was terrified that if anyone found out about his sexuality, it would destroy any chance he had of making music. Elvis grips Dr. Nick's wrist tighter. That's why I could never tell the whole story, Doc. Even after he died, I couldn't risk exposing him. His family might not have known. His memory deserved to be protected. So you carried all of this alone? For 23 years. The music industry, the fans, the critics, they all think I'm just another white guy who got rich off black music. But Marcus and I, we were partners. We were going to change things together. We were going to show the world that music doesn't have color, that talent is talent. Elvis starts coughing, and Dr. Nick can see that talking is taking a severe toll on his already weakened condition. Elvis, please, let me get you to the hospital. We can talk about this later. No, Doc. There might not be a later. I need you to know all of it. Elvis pulls out another piece of paper from his robe. This is a letter Marcus wrote to me, just a few days before he died. Read it. Dr. Nick takes the letter and reads silently. Elvis, whatever happens with our music, I want you to know that you gave me something I never had before. Hope. For the first time in my life, I believe that maybe the world could change, that maybe someone like me could have a future in music. Even if that doesn't happen, even if we never get to be the partners we dreamed of being, you gave me the gift of believing in myself. Thank you for seeing me as a person, not just as a black kid from Mississippi. Your friend, always, Marcus. Dr. Nick wipes tears from his own eyes. Elvis, this is beautiful. Marcus obviously cared about you very much. He did, and I failed him, Doc. I got famous, I got rich, I got everything we talked about achieving together, but he got nothing except an unmarked grave in a segregated cemetery. You didn't fail him, Elvis. You kept his music alive. You've been honoring his memory for over 20 years. Elvis shakes his head weakly. I could have done more. I should have fought harder to find his family, to tell his story. I should have been braver about crediting him publicly, even if people didn't believe me. Why are you telling me this now? Dr. Nick asks. Because I'm dying, Doc. I can feel it, and I can't let this story die with me. Marcus deserves better than that. Elvis reaches into his robe one more time and pulls out a set of keys. These are to a safety deposit box at First National Bank. Everything is in there. The original songs Marcus wrote, our partnership agreement, letters, photographs, financial records, everything you need to tell his story properly. Elvis. Promise me, Doc. Promise me you'll find Marcus's family and give them what's rightfully theirs. Promise me you'll tell the world that Marcus Johnson was a real person, a real musician, a real dreamer who deserved to be remembered. Dr. Nick takes the keys with shaking hands. I promise, Elvis. But right now, I need to focus on saving your life. Elvis smiles weakly. You can't save my life, Doc, but you can save Marcus's legacy. That's worth more to me than living. Don't talk like that. You have so much more to give the world. I've given what I can. The music, the performances, the joy, that was all real, but it was built on Marcus's foundation, and I've never been able to properly acknowledge that. Maybe now, finally, people will understand. Elvis's breathing becomes more labored. There's something else, Doc. Something even more personal. What is it? I've spent my whole adult life struggling with who I am. Not just as a performer, but as a person. Marcus helped me understand that there are different ways to be a man, different ways to love, different ways to find meaning in life. Doctor, Nick realizes what Elvis is trying to tell him. Elvis, are you saying? I'm saying that Marcus wasn't just my musical partner and my friend. For a brief, beautiful moment, he was. He was more than that. And losing him didn't just destroy my music dreams, it destroyed my heart. The confession hangs in the air between them. Dr. Nick understands now why Elvis has been so tortured, so unable to find lasting happiness in his relationships. That's why you've been so lost, isn't it? You've been grieving for 23 years. Elvis nods. Every pill I took, every bad decision I made, every moment of loneliness and despair, it all goes back to losing Marcus. Not just losing him, but losing the part of myself that he helped me discover and accept. Elvis, I wish you had told someone about this sooner. You didn't have to carry this pain alone. Who could I tell, Doc? In 1954? In the South? Even now, in 1977? The world isn't ready for that truth. But maybe someday. Elvis's eyes begin to close, and Dr. Nick realizes that time is running out. Elvis, stay with me. We need to get you help. Elvis opens his eyes one more time. Doc, promise me one more thing. When you tell Marcus's story, tell it all. Don't sanitize it. Don't make it easier for people to accept. Tell them about the real person he was. Talented, brave, loving, and unashamed of who he was. The world needs to know that kind of courage exists. I promise, Elvis. And tell them that I loved him, really loved him. Not just his music, not just his friendship, but him. And that love has been the most real thing in my life, even though I could never speak it out loud. Elvis closes his eyes, and his grip on Dr. Nick's wrist loosens. Within minutes, Elvis Aaron Presley is gone, taking with him the burden he's carried for over 2 decades, but finally having shared the truth that defined his entire life. Dr. George Nichopoulos sat with Elvis's body for nearly an hour before calling for help. He needed time to process what he'd just heard, to understand the magnitude of the secret Elvis had entrusted to him. In the days following Elvis's death, as the world mourned the king of rock and roll, Dr. Nick quietly began the process of fulfilling his promise. He went to the safety deposit box and found everything Elvis had described: songs, letters, financial records, and photographs of a young black musician whose talent and love had shaped the greatest entertainer of the 20th century. The search for Marcus Johnson's family took Dr. Nick several years, but he eventually found them: Marcus's younger sister living in Chicago, his elderly mother in a nursing home in Detroit. The reunion was emotional and life-changing for everyone involved. Dr. Nick kept his promise about the money, ensuring that Marcus's family received their rightful share of the royalties from songs that had made Elvis famous. But more importantly, he kept his promise about telling Marcus's story. However, Dr. Nick made a difficult decision about the more personal aspects of Elvis's confession. Understanding that both Elvis and Marcus had lived in an era when their relationship would have been not just socially unacceptable but legally dangerous, he chose to focus on their musical partnership and friendship while keeping their deeper connection private. This story is creative storytelling inspired by the complex legacy of Elvis Presley and the ongoing discussions about cultural appropriation and artistic collaboration in the music industry. While Marcus Johnson is a fictional character, he represents the many black musicians whose contributions to early rock and roll were overlooked or minimized by history. The relationship described between Elvis and Marcus is fictional, but it addresses real questions about Elvis's sexuality and his relationships with men that have been the subject of speculation by biographers and historians for decades. What is true is that Elvis Presley did have a complicated relationship with the question of cultural appropriation. He was clearly influenced by black musicians and black musical traditions, but he also worked to support black artists throughout his career and was generally respectful of his influences. The idea that Elvis might have carried guilt or regret about his success in relation to black musicians is not far-fetched. Many white artists of his era struggled with similar questions, particularly as the civil rights movement brought issues of racial equity to the forefront of American consciousness. Dr. George Nichopoulos was indeed present during Elvis's final moments, and he did carry secrets about Elvis's private life that he never fully revealed to the public. The specific confession described here is fictional, but it represents the kinds of personal truths that Elvis might have wanted to share but felt unable to during his lifetime. The real message of this imagined confession is about the weight of secrets, the power of love in all its forms, and the courage it takes to live authentically in a world that isn't always ready to accept truth. Whether Elvis ever had a relationship like the one described with Marcus Johnson, we'll never know. But the story serves as a reminder that the people we admire from history were complex human beings with private struggles and hidden depths that their public personas never revealed. If this story moved you, if it made you think about the secrets people carry and the courage it takes to love authentically, I need you to do something right now. Subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell, because next week we're exploring another hidden truth about the private struggles of legendary performers. Drop a comment and tell me, do you think there are still secrets about Elvis that have never been revealed? Should private relationships remain private, even after death? Share this video with someone who understands that behind every public figure is a private person with their own struggles, their own loves, and their own truths that they may never feel safe enough to share. Because here's the truth this story teaches us. The greatest tragedy isn't dying with secrets, it's living without the freedom to be your authentic self. Sometimes, the most courageous thing a person can do is trust someone else with the truth of who they really are. The music is bigger than any of us, but the love that creates the music, that's the biggest truth of all. Thank you for joining me on this emotional journey into Elvis's final moments. I'll see you in the next one, where we'll discover another truth that someone took to their grave. Remember, everyone deserves to be loved for who they really are, not just for who the world thinks they should be. Thanks for watching.